This is easy. Coming up to 90 minutes now. Piece of cake, easily finish it. Do you want to avoid hitting the wall? Then keep on watching. Most runners know that they need to eat good quality sources of carbohydrate before a marathon or a half marathon. But many runners are unclear of how much carbohydrate they need and when to start carb loading. After all, you've trained all that time for that race and you don't want to start the race with a huge handicap because you haven't carb loaded properly. When you eat a bowl of spaghetti, most of the carbs are stored as glycogen in your muscles and liver. Glycogen is your body's most easily accessible form of energy, but it's not the only source. During the half or full marathon, you burn both glycogen and fat, but fat is not as efficient, which means your body has to work harder to convert it into fuel. When you run out of glycogen during the race, you hit the proverbial wall. Your body has to slow down as it turns fat into energy. Proper carb loading won't really help you run it any faster, but it will help you run at your very best. And if you race smartly, you'll avoid hitting that wall. So what carbs should you eat? Well, normally I'd always recommend to eat whole grain, whole wheat carbs and avoid refined foods as much as possible. But when you're carb loading, you can make an exception. You can eat white pasta, white bread, white rice, mashed potato, glucose drinks, milk chocolate. And it's also important to try and avoid eating too much protein and fats. You want to get the food in your body that's easily absorbed and absorbed quickly to fill up them glycogen stores. And proteins and fats absorb very slowly and are harder to digest. It's impossible to fill your muscles with glycogen in just one meal. So you have to do it over about 3 days. So around about 2 or 3 days before your race, you start carb loading. Now, 80 to 90% of your calories should come from carbohydrate over them 3 days. So on average, if you're 150 pounds in weight, you're looking to get 4 grams of carbohydrate per pound of body weight. So for a 150 pound runner, that would be something along the lines of 600 grams of carbohydrate per day or 2,400 calories from carbohydrate. If you step on the scale where you're carb loading, be prepared to see a number that's around about 4 pounds more than your usual weight. This extra weight means you get a gold star for carb loading properly. With every gram of stored carbohydrate, you store around about 3 grams of water. So this means your body will be hydrated and fueled as you start the race, ensuring you cross the finish line feeling strong. So just to summarise, okay, so you want to be looking at something along the lines of this. Around about 6 weeks before the race, you should be practicing carb loading. So before your longest run, 3 days before your longest run, try carb loading, just so you can get used to it and get used to the idea of what food you should be eating and see if foods agree with you or disagree with you. Also, make a plan 1 week before the race. So plan out what you're going to take with you, your drinks, your snacks, energy drinks and things like that. And if you're staying over, make sure you make dinner reservations so you don't miss out on your evening meal and your breakfast. And then 3 days before you start your carb loading, as we've talked about previously, the night before the race, you want to be getting a really carb heavy meal. Make sure this is early evening-ish. You don't want to be eating too late. You want to give that time, that food time to digest over the night. And then in the morning, 3 hours before the race, you should be looking to get around about 150 grams of carbohydrates 3 hours before. But if you find you've got an early starting race, you can almost wake up maybe 3 or 4 a.m, get your 150 grams of carbs and go back to bed until you can wake up. Okay, so that's pretty much all it is about carb loading. I hope that's gone some way to help you and describe what carb loading is. Thanks for watching today and I'll see you soon. If you liked the video, hit that like icon. You can also subscribe to the channel here, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss any new uploads.